This week, we are talking about being different. Or really, we're talking about not being different. We're talking about how to steal like an artist. And so far, we've discussed why originality is a myth and why imitation is the best thing that you can do as a writer. Today, we're going to be capping it off by talking about how you can grow past imitation. If originality is a myth and the best way to learn is imitation, then eventually you're going to get to the point where that just won't cut it anymore. You're going to find that your soul just sort of wants to break free. If you've been in this process for a while, training yourselves through imitation of the masters, then you're going to find yourself in sore need of courage. Because breaking free is scary. You know, in the apprenticeship systems of old, there was this period where a student who was not quite an apprentice anymore, but was not yet a master, would practice their craft over and over and over again. This was the Journeyman period. And often they would travel the world. They would expand their horizons, or they would set up their own shop in order to try and make something of themselves, in order to take their master's teachings and take it one step further. At the end of the day, we want to apprentice ourselves to the craft of writing. And so there will come a time when you transition from apprentice into journeyman, where you start exploring the world a little bit more, you start expanding beyond the strict confines of what you've been imitating. You start trying different combinations and attempting to put together different component pieces that have until this point been separate. This is a scary time. This is an experimental time. This is a point in your career, either as a writer or as an author, where you're trying new things. And not everything is going to work. In fact, most things probably won't, which is not something that we like to hear. I certainly don't like to hear it. Are you telling me that I might write a book and it might just not hit? Well, guess what? I did. This year, I released a book that does very well with certain audiences and other people just aren't as excited about. It doesn't capture their imagination in the same way. But this period of experimenting is incredibly important because it provides fuel for the fire of your eventual mastery. And this is why it requires courage, because you need to be able to keep going. You need to be able to bear the thorns and thistles. You need to be able to push through the difficult country to get to mastery. And it's not to say that once you become a master, all of a sudden, boom, all of your problems are gone, everything works smoothly. No, you'll probably still continue to wrestle, but you'll have built a foundation that is unshakable. And so if you're in this position where up until this point, you feel like you've been doing really well with your writing, and then you suddenly hit a stage where things get awkward and you're like, I don't know about this anymore. I don't necessarily like the things that I'm writing. I'm feeling all sorts of ways about it. When you hit that point, and you will if you're a writer, just understand that you are now in a journeyman stage. You need to gird yourself up and push through. You need to just stick to the path, continuing to build and refine on what you've already learned. If you follow this sort of apprenticeship model, then you'll have all of the tools you need. But what you're going to start doing now is you're going to start mixing and matching all of these little pieces that up until this point have been separate. All of these ways of writing different components of a story, and you're going to start putting them together. Different genres are going to start meshing in your mind. You're going to start thinking to yourself, hey, what if I did this? What if I did something new in this spot? What if I took this a different direction that I've never seen anybody else? And this is where you're going to start introducing originality back into your content, back into your art. In this period of mixing and matching, of courageously exploring places that you have never been before and other people may have never been before, You're going to start discovering your voice, because after you've been through the fire, only the valuable pieces remain. And this is why it's so important to have courage. This is why it's so important to embrace what you have learned and carry it forward, because you have an original voice. I know we started this week talking about how originality is a myth, but at the end of the day, that's not completely true. Your voice is unique because nobody else has your experiences and your perspective. And it's through this path of first imitating other people and then mixing and matching the skills we've learned into something new that your voice comes to life.